Hey everybody, it's Julie the Whippy Chick here, and I'm back with another tutorial, and I call this one the Column Stitch Cowl. I call it the Column Stitch Cowl because it's made of column stitches. Each one of these long columns is probably how this stitch got its name. It's a pretty easy stitch to learn. It's basically a 2-row repeat. You've got your row of V-stitches, and then your row of these column clusters, I'll call them, which are basically made up of 5 treble crochets all built into the chain 2 space of the V-stitch in the row below. I also added on some drawstrings and pom-poms because why not? You know, give it a little added fun. And I used, let's see, what kind of yarn did I use? I used this Yarn Bee Chloe in the color of Sun-Kissed Grove, and yes, I did get it at Hobby Lobby on clearance sale. Woohoo! Gotta love that. Oh my goodness, I almost dropped it on the floor. All right, so I'm also today going to be adding in the pattern over here on the side, or over here on the side, or somewhere in the video. I'm going to add it in at the end during the editing. But I'm doing that because I've heard that some people really struggle with learning how to read patterns. So I thought we'd follow along with the pattern. If you would like to print out this pattern, it is available for free on Ravelry. I want to say it's under Whippy Chick, but it might be under Julie Sherwood Designs. My name actually is Julie Sherwood. My name isn't really Whippy Chick. That's really just a description of what I'm like. All right, so I'm going to put this one away and we're going to get started. Now I am using a different yarn for the tutorial. I wanted to use something that was easy to see on the camera and maybe a little bit heavier weight yarn. Honestly, I probably will not wear a cowl made out of this powdery light blue. This is really more for a blanket if you ask me, but this is what I'm going to use because it's going to be easy for you to see. So I am using Craft Smart Value yarn. I think it's just probably called light blue. Yep, light blue. It does call for a 5.5 millimeter hook, so that is what I'm going to use. Okay, so let's take a look at our pattern. Actually, before I do that, let me just show you what we're going to look at. The pattern calls for multiples of 5 plus 6, okay? And what that means is that it's going to take 5 stitches to create each one of these columns. So we need to do multiples of 5. Now if I wanted it to be very narrow and I only wanted 1, 2, 3, 4 of these column stitches, then I would do 4 times 5, which would be 20, so 20 stitches. But then at the end I have to have my turning chain over here. We have to have our turning chain, so that is where the plus 6 comes in. So it's always plus 6 no matter what multiple of 5 you use. Now for this one and for the one in the pattern, I used 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is hiding under the drawstring. So 9 times 5 is 45. Plus I need to add on my 6 chains for turning. Okay, so hopefully that breaks down a little bit of the mystery for that. So let's get started. I'm going to make my slip knot and I am going to chain 45 stitches. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. There's my 45 chains. And I still have to add in my 6 chains for the turning. Okay, so let's do our 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so we've done that. Let's go look at the next step on the pattern. Okay, so it says row 1, we're going to work 1 double crochet, 2 chains, and 1 double crochet, which is the V-stitch. We're going to do that into the 8th chain from the hook. We're not going to go any further in the pattern right now. We are going to work on that very first step. So let's first find our 8th chain from the hook. Okay, here's the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, seventh one, and our 8th chain from the hook. Okay, I'm going to just count back and make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that is correct. Okay, so now it says to work 1 double crochet. So yarn over. Always so fiddly in the first row. Just be patient with yourself. Take your time. Pull up a loop. I'm trying to show it to you. Pull through 1 and pull through again. Okay. I always tend to stretch out my stitches in that first row. Don't worry about that. That works itself out, believe me. Okay, so we did our 1 double crochet. Now it says to chain 2. 1, 2. Now we're going to work another double crochet into that same stitch. Okay, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And now we have our first V-stitch. Hopefully I'm staying in frame. It's always my biggest struggle when making tutorials, staying in the frame. I'm gonna do my best. Okay, let's see what it says to do next. We are gonna chain 3. Okay, that's easy enough. 1, 2, 3. And then it says skip 4 chains. So those 4 that we're gonna skip are down here in the bottom. Okay, so we're gonna skip 1, 2, 3, 4. Those ones are skipped. So we're working into the next one, which would be the 5th. All right. And then we are going to work a V-stitch into that next stitch, which is the 5th one. All right, because we skipped 4, so we're working into the 5th with another V-stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2 more. Chain 2, and do it again. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2 more. All right, now what does it say? Now we've got these fancy asterisks here, and where it says repeat asterisk blank blank asterisk, that means everything that's in between those 2 asterisks is what we are going to repeat. And we're going to repeat that to the last 3 stitches. Okay, so we're going to just keep doing what we did. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then at the bottom we're going to skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to work into the next stitch, which is the 5th stitch. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2 more. Chain 2. Do the same thing again. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2 more. Okay, that worked. Another V-stitch. And remember we said there's a 5 stitch. 5 stitches are necessary for each of our column stitches. So you can see that's why we're skipping these 4 and building into the 5th. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense to you. I'm going to go ahead and just continue that. And remember it says in our pattern here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep repeating that V-stitch into every 5 stitches. We're going to repeat that to the last 3 stitches. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and zoom forward. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, skip 4 of these bottom ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, build into the 5th one. yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, chain 2, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Now I am just going to say that when I do my first row, it is always kind of messy looking and very fiddly. I think that's probably true for a lot of people. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to build into this 5th one. Over, insert my hook. Oh my goodness. See what I mean by fiddly? The first row is always the hardest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kind of sounds like a country song title, doesn't it? The first row is always the hardest. Oh my goodness. All right, let's finish up this V-stitch and work our way across this first row so we don't have to do it again for a while. Okay, there's our chain 3. Now we're coming back down to the bottom here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's our 5th stitch. Let's build into that. And chain 2 and complete that V-stitch. And chain 3 and skip 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's number 5. And another V-stitch. Ooh, my yarn's getting a little tight. I better pull out some more here. And let's complete that V-stitch. And chain 3. And let's take a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's number 5. We're getting there, guys. We are almost to the end of this row. I don't know if I'm happier at the end of the first row or the last row. That is a definite toss-up. How about you? There's something nice about finishing a project, but at the same time, there's something really nice about starting one too. We're getting close to the end of the row. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 1. And remember it said there'd be 3 left over, and there are, so that's good. That means I counted correctly. Sometimes I don't. And then I have to figure out where I messed up. All right, let's just finish this V-stitch and get back to our pattern and see what it says to do next. All right, so repeat the last 3 stitches. And after that, we're going to work 1 double crochet into the last chain. So that's easy to find the last chain. It's right there, 1, 2, 3, and it is the last chain. We're not going to do any more chaining. We're just going to work a double crochet into that last. Is that right? Let me double check. Yep, it looks like that's right. You'd think I'd know. I wrote the pattern. But I couldn't remember. Okay. So there is our first row completed of our V-stitches. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is turn our work, which this used to trip me up when I first started. I'm like, turn our work, is there a technique to that? I used to overthink it. Turning your work just means flipping it over. And after we turn a row, or I'm sorry, after we turn our work, we are going to move on to row 2. So row 2 says to chain 4. We can do that. Easy enough, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And it says in the pattern that this counts as a treble crochet. We are going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, or 2 stitches, excuse me. And we are going to work 5 double, no, not double, 5 treble crochet into the chain 2 space of the V-stitch of the previous row. And that's this space right here. See, these are the 2 chains in the V-stitch. Okay, we're going to work all of our treble crochets right into that space. And this is the beauty of this pattern. It makes it go really fast because you're not looking for any stitches on this whole row. You're just building these in. So I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's work our treble crochet. So we're going to yarn over twice, insert our hook into that big old space, pull up a loop. Look at all those loops we've got. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2, and that makes a nice great big tall treble crochet stitch. We're going to do that 4 more times into that space. And I'm just going to let you watch for a second. It really does move quick. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Another one. Pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Let's do it one more time, and that's going to finish this column stitch on. There we go. That column stitch is finished. Okay, now the directions say, here's our funny asterisk again. We're going to skip the chain 3. This is the chain 3 here. We're going to skip right over that. And we're going to work 5 double crochets right back into the, I'm sorry, I keep saying double crochets, 5 treble crochets into the chain 2 space. Okay. Oh, I have to keep pulling this yarn out. It's really tight in this skein here. There we go. And like I said before, I would never really make a cowl with this type of yarn generally, but this is just for the tutorial. Okay. So let's keep treble crocheting along here. There's 4. One more into that chain 2 space. Okay. So now we've got 2 done. And we just have to work our way all the way across. Whoops, get in there. If you've never tried crocheting while looking into the viewfinder of your camera, I highly recommend it just for an experience. You can kind of see how tricky it can be sometimes to watch what you're doing through the viewfinder. Your hands look different. I don't know how else to explain it. It's like watching someone else's hands make the stitch somehow. I don't know. It's weird. How we doing, guys? We getting there? We've got 4 done. I think I'm going to meet you at the end of the row. You've seen me do this a lot now, and I think you probably got it down. So I'm going to meet you when we get to the end, at the end of this V, and then I'll show you how to finish up the row. Okay. Okay, so I am back. We are here right at the end of our row, and you can see those columns are starting to look really, really nice. I'm so excited about them. And we're looking at the end of row 2. We've done all of our repeats, and we are just going to treble crochet into the next chain. Okay, so here is the V-stitch. So this right here is our next chain. So we're going to try to V-stitch into that. Now I'm going to be honest with you. I always try to get into both legs of our chains, but really there's not a lot to work into to get into there. So sometimes I do cheat and I just go through one leg. Nothing terrible generally happens. I haven't felt any tremors in the earth or seen any lightning strikes or anything. So I think it's okay to cheat once in a while in crochet. There's not really any major rules anyway. There's no yarn police. Okay, do what you need to do. But I am going to try. So I like to just try to wiggle my hook under there. Under one, and then I try to go back for the other one. Let's see, can we do it? Yay, I did it. Okay, a lot of times too that's dependent on your yarn. So let's just finish that last treble crochet. Very good. And that finishes that row. So we're gonna turn our work, flip it over, right? And for row 3, it says to chain 5. And that chain 5 is going to count for 1 double crochet and 2 chains. Okay, generally speaking, 3 chains equals a double crochet. So that's why we're chaining 5. So, whoops. Here's 1, 2, 3. So that's like our double crochet, and then we have to have 2 chains. 1, 2 for our 2 chains. Okay. And our instructions say to skip the first 3 treble crochets. Okay, here's the first one, here's the second one, here's the third one. So this is our stitch. This is the stitch we're going to work into. Okay, and it says to do a V-stitch into that next treble crochet. Basically, when you're looking at it, it's the middle one. Okay, we're going to build into the middle one. That's going to make it a little easier than doing all that counting. So double crochet here. And remember how to make our V-stitch. We have 2 chains in the middle. There's our 2 chains. And another double crochet right back into that same stitch. Ta-da! We did it. Now, let's go back to our pattern. What does it say to do next? It says to chain 3 and V-stitch into the 3rd treble crochet. So, there's the 3rd treble crochet of the next cluster. So let's do our 3 chains. 1, 2, 3, and a V-stitch. Chain 2, double crochet, and we're just going to keep repeating that. See those cute little asterisks? Repeat blank to blank to the last 3 double crochets. So let's just keep working our way across the row. 1, 2, 3. And for me, rather than doing the counting, I know that I'm looking for that center stitch. 1, 2, 3. There's that center stitch. Chain 2. Finish off that V-stitch. Chain 3. Look for that center one. There it is. Another V-stitch. Chain 2. And finish the V-stitch. 1, 2, 3. This really is a pattern that after you do a row or two, it's old hat. Pretty easy to remember. I don't know if you can hear it, but this yarn is actually kind of squeaky and squeaky on my hook. Finish that V-stitch. Chain 3. Another V-stitch in the center. There we go. Chain 3. And where is that center? 1, 2, 3. There it is. Now finish that one and let's take a look at what our pattern said. I remember it saying something about the last 3 treble crochets. Okay, so here we are. We are going to chain 2 and do 1 double crochet into the 4th of the 4 chains. Here's our 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Makes sense that it would be the top one. We're going to double crochet into that chain. Try to get those 2 legs if you can of the V-stitch, or not of the V-stitch, of the V of the chain. I said V-stitch so many times, it's like just tripping off my tongue now. And that finishes that row. And like I said before, it's a 2-row repeat, so you can see the next row is going to be up here. But let's just see what it says. Repeat rows 2 and 3 for 28.5 inches or 72.5 centimeters, or however long you want it to be. Okay, so we're going to repeat row 2 now. So we're going to chain 4. And we are going to build our treble crochets into each of these chain 2 spaces of our V-stitches. Back to our treble crochets. There's 2 of them. There's 3. There's 4. And there's 5. Okay? Remember, you just do the same thing all the way across the row. Whoops. Okay, so there's the 5 in that chain 2 space. Okay, so I think that from here you should pretty much have it down. And if you don't, feel free to rewind. Go ahead and watch it again if you need to. Slow it down as well. That's always a great option. There's actually a little part in the settings where you can change your playback speed. Sometimes that really helps to slow someone down so you can watch what their fingers are doing. But I'm going to go ahead and just keep continuing to repeat this until I have it long enough where I can show you how I did the seaming at the end. Okay, so I'm back. I have done as much as I'm going to do on my cowl, and I'm just going to pretend that this is as long as I want it. Now, obviously, I would not make a cowl the size of my hand. I'd have to like have a pencil neck for that to fit. So obviously you would want your cowl to go a lot longer. And in fact, the pattern calls for the length of it to be about 28.5 inches or 72.5 centimeters. But like I said, this isn't an actual cowl. I'm not going to keep this. I'm going to repurpose this yarn. So I just wanted enough to show you how I finish the cowl. And what we're going to do is just fold it in half so that we've got our two ends together. Okay, so I stopped mine when I got to the cluster row because I wanted to use these stitches to build in to these spaces. It kind of just helps it to stay even, if that makes sense. Okay, so here's what I do. Now you don't have to do it this way. You can certainly use a yarn needle and stitch back and forth to make your seams. That's absolutely fine. I am just lazy. I just want to use my hook. So I'm going to take my hook and I'm actually just going to scooch it through this big space here. And I'm going to pull through a loop just like that. And then I'm going to pull up a loop and pull that through. And that's just going to anchor. It's just going to anchor. I don't know what happened with my English at that moment. I seem to have lost my ability to speak. From there, I am just going to go into the next stitch, just going to slide under it, and I'm going to continue in that space. Pull up a loop, and then I've got two on there, and then slip it through. Okay, I'm just going to do that again with the next stitch. And pull it through. Insert my hook under there, insert it under the big chain space, pull through a loop, pull through both of them, and again. And pretty soon a stitch on this side is going to match up with a stitch on this side. I just keep working my way through, just trying to keep everything even, pulling that through. I don't know if there's a right or a wrong way to do this. I guess it's like I said in the beginning, there's really no wrong way to do it. You do it the way you want to do it. And this is the way I want to do it. Certainly if there's a way you want to do it that's different, you can go for it. No rules in this game. So I'm just going to work my way across in the same way, the same fashion. Yeah, see, like right here, I'm getting close to this little stitch here. So the next one, I'll go right into that stitch. There it is. And I'm just going to go a little bit further, and then I'll turn it inside out so you can see how it looks on each side, and then you can determine which side you want facing.
This pattern really does move really, really fast, but I tell you what, you use a chunkier weight yarn and it really goes fast. The yarn I used for my other one was a little bit thinner weight, so it took a little bit more stitches. But boy, I can see if you were to use like an Aran weight or a chunky weight, you would be done with this project in no time. And you would have a nice, cozy, really warm cowl to show for it as well. Another thing I will say about the other cowl that I did make, the one that I showed you at the beginning of the video, is that had a little bit of wool in that yarn. It's got a wool blend. And I wore it the other day, and it didn't bother me most of the day, but by the end of the day, it was getting a little bit scratchy. So you want to keep that in mind too when you're making a wearable. If it's something that's going to be close to your skin, you really want to be sure it's going to be something that's not going to irritate your skin. I made another cowl recently And that one used bamboo and silk. And oh, I could have that next to my skin all day. It's just so, so silky soft. And it was so fun to work with too. So definitely think about your yarn types when you're thinking about making wearables.
Okay, I'm just going to turn this inside out. Looks more like a muff than a cowl. But it's just an example. So when I pull this inside out, this is how it looks seamed. And I'm okay with that. You know, some people might think it's too much of a seam showing and they might want to try for an invisible seam using a needle. But this was okay. I was okay with this. This was fine for me. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to make the drawstring if you're interested in that. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, now when I made my drawstring, and let me get my example so I can show you. I really just did a chain. Here's part of the drawstring right here. I just made a chain. I did double it up though. And by doubling it up, I mean I used 2 strands together. So to keep, I have to keep wiping my table off because I have a dog who sheds and his dog hair gets everywhere. That's all right. Real people, real problems. Okay, so I double it up. So what I want is I want 2 strands of yarn that are pretty much the same length. Okay, so just going to kind of measure those next to each other and snip that. And from there, I'm just going to hold them together and make a slip stitch. Slip knot. I do that, I swear, at least once in every tutorial. A slip knot. Okay. And this hook might not be big enough. I might need to switch to a bigger hook, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try to go for it. And then you're just going to chain. And basically, you want your chain to be as long as your cowl is in circumference. So you're going to want this to go the entire length of your cowl. Whoops. Yeah, this hook might be just a little bit too small for this, for having 2 strands together. 2 strands together is really kind of like making a very thick, heavy yarn. So normally you would use a very heavy, thick hook, which makes sense, right? But I'm just going to go ahead and keep going here. I think I'll be okay. And we're just going to keep chaining and chaining and chaining and chaining. I wonder how fast I can go. I can zoom the video to make it look like I'm really fast. And I probably will, because this is probably not interesting to watch. To watch me keep chaining and chaining. Now I didn't measure this. If this were the real cowl, I would have been a little bit more careful about measuring to make sure it would actually go all the way around. Because you're going to want it to go, you know, all the way around your cowl. All right, that's pretty, actually I did okay. Look at that, pretty close. All right, then if you want to use a needle, you can. We're going to basically weave this through our stitches. So maybe I will find a needle in my bag of tricks here. Let's see, I know I've got a little, yeah, there they are. There's my needles. Let's just pull out one with a big eye. There we go. Whoops, oh my goodness, it's chaos. The needles are escaping. Okay, so here we go. We're just going to thread our yarn needle. It's going to make our job a little easier. And what I did was I actually weaved in this part of my cowl. You don't have to. You could certainly go through this part. It would probably be a lot easier, really. It's completely up to you. I chose to go through here, so I'm just going to go through here again. Another thing, you can go to the one on the very end. You can go one up. It's personal preference. I actually did 2 drawstrings. I did one on each end. It's really completely up to you. All right, I'm going to just go with this one for now because, hey, why not? I can. And really just weaving, you know, under and over, under, over, until you get all the way around your cowl. I hope this is making sense. Probably it is because it's all visual. So there you go. So there's your drawstring all the way around. And if you wanted it a little bit tight around your neck, you could just, you know, pull it tight. And if you wanted it nice and loose, you could leave it loose. And if you were going to leave it loose, really the only reason to have these is for the fun pom-poms. Yay! So next I'm going to show you how I make the pom-poms. I'll be right back. Okay, so you don't have to use a pom-pom maker. There are definitely lots of tutorials out there on how to make a pom-pom without using one of these and just using a piece of cardboard. You certainly can do that. That's fine. I'm going to use my pom-pom maker because it is so fun. I just love using this little thing. So I will make a pom-pom pretty quickly. And I did actually do a product review video on this little gadget, and you can check that out and see if it's something that you would be interested in purchasing. But I also do show you how to use it. So around and around and around, you just keep wrapping your yarn around and around. And I just realized that I left my favorite scissors for doing this in the other room. And that's another thing I do for almost every tutorial. I always forget something. So anyway, you just wrap that around and clip the end. Do the same thing on the other side.
Wrapping. I'm probably going out of frame. That's okay, this really isn't a pom-pom tutorial anyway. This is just the icing on the cake for our cute little column stitch cowl. And it's the funny thing is after I made that cowl, I asked my husband what he thought, and he said he liked it with the exception of the pom-poms. And once I put it on my Facebook group, the thing everybody liked best about it was the pom-poms. Shows you what he knows. Alrighty, I'm gonna go get some scissors. I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm back again. I've got my scissors. Not these ones. They would be completely the wrong scissors for this task. I'm gonna put that away before that falls on the floor. Okay, pick up your mess, Julie. All right, so now I've got these all on here, and there's these cute little spaces where you actually insert your scissors, and then you just cut away. And you keep going through the other side. And then you're going to need a little bit more yarn to wrap around. You see that little ridge there? That's where we put our yarn to wrap it. Pull it nice and tight. And we're going to just tie our knot. And I flip it over and then I tie it again. Again, if you're interested in looking into these pom-pom makers a little more closely, I do have that video there, and I'll leave a link to it at the end of the video. You can check it out. Okay, I can already tell this guy is going to be sticking out a little further than everybody else, so I'm just going to trim that right now. All right, the moment of truth. Boink-a-boink. And then you take it apart. And voila. Trim here, trim there, trim there. Whether you're tin or straw. That's how we laugh the day away in the merry old land of Oz. Hope I don't get copyrighted for that. I love the Wizard of Oz. All right, from there, it's just a matter of attaching your pom-pom. And again, I use the yarn needle. Why did I put that away? I use the yarn needle. Thread this baby up. And right here at the end on my knot, I really just sew it on there, go over it a couple times with the yarn needle. Whoops. I think I have a little more yarn than I really need. Pull it up nice and tight. Tie it together with this one. Nice and tight. Trim those ends so they kind of blend in with the rest of the pom-pom. And that is it. Still have a couple little ends there. You might want to fiddle with those. But that's all there is to adding the pom-pom to the cowl. That's it. I'm glad you guys stuck around with me till the end. The pom-poms are the best and most fun part of the whole tutorial. I think that this is a really easy, beginner-friendly project, but it does look a little more impressive than it really is, difficulty-wise. And when done with a variegated yarn, I think it's absolutely beautiful. So I hope you enjoy it. And again, there's going to be links to the free pattern on Ravelry at the bottom, and hope to see you again soon. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.